Thank you for joining us on this edition of News Today. Without delay, let's explore the headlines that are shaping the current news landscape. The Lok Sabha passed bills to replace Indian Penal Code 1860, Code of Criminal Procedure 1973, and Indian Evidence Act 1972. The Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises has launched 3 sub-schemes under the Raising and Accelerating MSME Performance Program. Parliamentary Standing Committee presented a report titled National Policy on Child Labour and Assessment to address the issue of child labour in India. Maldives has sought to terminate the hydrographic survey agreement with India. India disagrees with International Monetary Fund questions on government debt vulnerabilities. The Union Minister of Mines launched the National Geoscience Data Repository portal. Starting with the first news, the Lok Sabha passed bills to replace Indian Penal Code 1860, Code of Criminal Procedure CrPC 1973 and Indian Evidence Act 1872. These bills seek to modernize the current legal framework and overhaul the criminal justice system. Starting with the first bill, which is the Bharatiya Nyaya Second Sanhita Bill 2023, which is set to replace the Indian Penal Code of 1860. The key highlights of this bill include the introduction of community service as a novel form of punishment. Additionally, the bill addresses grave offences by incorporating a provision for the death penalty in cases of gang rape of minors and murder committed by 5 or more persons on the ground of race, caste, community, personal beliefs, and other similar factors. Notably, the concept of sedition has been removed, but the bill now includes provisions penalizing armed rebellion, subversive activities, and separatist activities. Furthermore, the bill defines a terrorist act as any action intended to threaten the unity, integrity, security, or economic security of the country or to strike terror in the people. Moving on to the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Second Sanhita 2023, intended to replace the Code of Criminal Procedure of 1973, also known as CrPC. This bill introduces specific timelines for investigations, trials, and the pronouncement of judgments to ensure a time-bound and efficient legal process. In a notable move towards safeguarding victims of sexual assault, the bill mandates the video recording statements made by such victims. Furthermore, the bill introduced a new provision allowing the attachment of property and proceeds of crime, enhancing the state's ability to combat criminal activities effectively. Finally, the Bharatiya Sakshya Second Bill 2023 is set to replace the Indian Evidence Act of 1872. This bill brings the legal framework into the digital age by including electronic records such as emails, documents on computers, and messages stored on digital devices as admissible evidence. Importantly, the bill stipulates that electronic and digital records shall carry the same legal weight as traditional paper records.
Recently, the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises or the MSME has launched 3 sub-schemes under the RAM program or Raising and Accelerating MSME Performance Program. The RAM program is a World Bank supported central sector scheme for MSMEs with the objectives to accelerate center-state collaboration in MSME promotion and development, improving access of MSMEs to market and credit technology upgradation. Let's go through the key details of the sub-schemes. The MSME Green Investment and Financing for Transformation Scheme or the MSC GIFT Scheme, which intends to help the MSMEs adopt green technology with interest subvention and credit guarantee support. The MSC Scheme for Promotion and Investment in Circular Economy or the MSC SPICE Scheme to support circular economy projects through credit subsidy, which will lead to realizing the dream of the MSME sector towards zero emissions by 2070. The MSC Scheme on Online Dispute Resolution for Delayed Payments or the MSC ODR Scheme to synergize legal support with modern IT tools and artificial intelligence to address the incidences of delayed payments for MSME. Other announcements by the Ministry of MSME include the Zero Defect and Zero Effect Scheme, which promotes manufacturing without negative impact on the environment, has been made free for women-led MSMEs. The support for the commercialization of the IP program or the MSME SCIP program for MSME innovators to commercialize their intellectual property rights. Let's go through a few other schemes which aim to promote the MSMEs. The Udyam Assist platform to bring the informal micro enterprises under the formal ambit for priority sector lending or PSL. The Champions 2.0 portal, which is a single window grievance redressal portal for MSME. The MSME Self-Reliant India Fund to provide support for MSMEs across the country through equity infusion. And lastly, the Emergency Credit Line Guarantee Scheme or the ECLGS to mitigate the economic distress faced by MSMEs after COVID-19.
Moving on, Parliamentary Standing Committee presented a report titled National Policy on Child Labour and Assessment to address the issue of child labour in India. Now let's get into the key observations and recommendations presented in the report. The committee has scrutinized the existing policies aimed at eliminating child labour and has made some crucial observations. The committee acknowledges that the policy to eradicate child labour in India faces significant challenges and must cover substantial ground to meet the target stipulated in Sustainable Development Goal 8.7, which aims to end all forms of child labour by 2025. The report highlights the presence of ambiguity in defining a child across various legislations. For instance, the Right of Child to Free and Compulsory Education Act 2009 defines a child as a person aged between 6 to 14 years. The Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act 2015 defines a child as a person who has not completed 18 years of age. The committee identifies two major hotspots of child labour and child trafficking, which are immigrant areas populated by individuals from Bengal and Bangladesh, and also the tribal areas of Assam. In light of these observations, the committee puts forth several recommendations to address the challenges. The committee suggests a thorough examination of the discrepancies in existing acts to eliminate ambiguity and ensure consistency. It is noted that the International Labour Organization sets the minimum age for work at 15 years, with exceptions for light work from the age of 13. To daunt violators, the committee proposes a 3-4 times increase in amount of fines. Additionally, it recommends exploring more strict punishments such as the cancellation of license and property attachments. A novel recommendation is to assign traffic police with the responsibility of reporting children selling goods or begging at traffic lights. To provide a broader context, there are also some significant steps taken by India in the fight against child labour. The Indian Constitution incorporates Article 24, which prohibits the employment of children in factories and other hazardous occupations. India ratified both Fundamental International Labour Organization Conventions on Child Labour, Convention 138 and 182, in 2017, signalling its commitment to global efforts in eradicating child labour. The committee underscores the importance of National Child Labour Project scheme initiated in 1988, a significant development in the creation of platform for effective enforcement for no child labour to enhance monitoring and implementation.
Now the next news. Maldives has sought to terminate the hydrographic survey agreement with India. The agreement was signed in 2019 that allowed India to conduct hydrographic surveys in Maldivian waters. The potential reasons can be seen as the change in regimes in Maldives following the elections in October 2023 and its subsequent pro-China shift with endorsement of China's Belt and Road Initiative. Earlier, Maldives formally requested India to withdraw its military personnel. Let's take a look at the India-Maldives bilateral relations. As regards diplomacy, India was among the first to recognize Maldives after its independence in 1965 and to establish diplomatic relations with the country. When it comes to the economic and trade relation, India and Maldives signed a trade agreement in 1981, which provides for export of essential commodities. India emerged as Maldives' third largest partner in 2021. The Greater Malay Connectivity Project is funded by India. As regards security and defense cooperation, India provides training opportunities for Maldivian National Defense Force. Defense cooperation extends to joint exercises like ex-equivalent, maritime domain awareness, infrastructure development, etc. India has also in the past provided humanitarian assistance during 2004 tsunami. Also in 2014 for Malay water crisis under Operation Neer, and 30,000 doses of measles vaccine in January 2020, and also help in COVID-19 pandemic. Let's try to understand what hydrographic surveys are. Hydrographic surveys are carried out by ships which use methods such as sonar to understand the various features of a water body. These surveys help to map out water depth, shape of the seafloor and coastline, location of possible obstructions, and physical features of water bodies. Indian survey ships have assisted Kenya, Mauritius, Mozambique, Oman, Seychelles, Sri Lanka, and Tanzania in the past.
Moving on to the next news. India disagrees with International Monetary Fund cautions on government debt vulnerabilities. IMF has raised concern about India's government debt vulnerabilities in its annual Article 4 Consolation Report. This report is a key component of the fund's surveillance function under the Articles of Agreement with member countries. The IMF, in a significant move, reclassified India's de facto exchange rate regime from floating to a stabilized arrangement for the period from December 2022 to October 2023. The reclassification signifies that India's exchange rate has not moved beyond a 2% band in past 6 months, largely due to official action. One of the major points of contention is the IMF's report on India's general government debt, which is projected to exceed 100% of the GDP in the medium term. The general government debt comprises the debts of the centre and states together. India's general government debt was 80.9% of the GDP last year, and the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Amendment Rules 2018 aim to limit it to 60% of the GDP by 2024-25. Let's get into the arguments and counter-arguments presented by the IMF and the Indian government. First, on the issue of government securities, the IMF expressed concern that a sudden increase in the sovereign risk premium could burden balance sheets and reduce bank lending appetite. However, India disagrees, asserting that such concerns are far-fetched. The second point of contention revolves around unsecured retail loans. The IMF cautioned that these loans could stretch debt service capacity and pose balance sheet risks. India, on the other hand, remains optimistic, citing digitalization as a key factor enabling credit growth while mitigating credit risk. Moving on to inflation, the IMF highlighted the risk of high inflation or structural reforms leading to social discontent. However, India contends that there is no evidence to support such concerns. Finally, the financial sector comes under scrutiny, with the IMF warning that external or domestic shocks could lead to credit stress. In response, India confidently asserts that its banking systems are in the best shape in over a decade.
Coming to the next news. Recently, the Union Ministry of Mines launched the National Geoscience Data Repository portal. The portal has been created as a part of the National Mineral Exploration Policy or NMEP 2016. It will make available all geological, geochemical, geophysical and mineral exploration data in the public domain on a digital geospatial platform. It will include baseline geoscience data and all mineral exploration information generated by various central and state government agencies. The Geological Survey of India or the GSI was given the responsibility to establish it. Coming to the significance of the portal, well, it democratizes critical geoscience data by encouraging transparency and knowledge sharing by offering open access. It will expedite, enhance, and facilitate the exploration coverage of the country. It also increases the investment attractiveness of the mining sector. Now let's understand about NMEP 2016. Well, it aims at accelerating the exploration activity in the country through enhanced participation of the private sector. The key features of the Act include auctioning of identified exploration blocks for exploration by the private sector on a revenue sharing basis, creation of baseline geoscientific data as a public good, and lastly, mapping the entire country with low altitude and close space flight to precisely locate the deep-seated minerals such as gold, silver, copper, etc. Now coming to the GSI or the Geological Survey of India. It is headquartered in Kolkata and was established in 1851. It comes under the Ministry of Mines. Its main function was to create and update the national geoscientific data, mineral resource assessment, and airborne and marine surveys. It has regional offices in many cities like Lucknow, Jaipur, Nagpur, Hyderabad, Shillong, and Kolkata. The personality in the news for today is Ashfaqulla Khan. He was a freedom fighter who actively fought against the British forces. Let's go through his contributions. He helped in the formation of Hindustan Republican Association, later known as the Hindustan Socialist Republican Association in 1924, to organize an armed revolution to achieve freedom. Ram Prasad Bismil and Sachindranath Sanyal were also its prominent members. He was a poet who wrote under the pen names of Hasrat and Warsi. He was arrested for his involvement in Kakori train robbery and sentenced to death. He exhibited the values of fortitude, patriotism, and intellectual pursuit.
As we conclude today's main news, let's take a look at some quick updates. Lok Sabha passed the bill to give immediate effect to the changes in customs and excise duties announced in the budget. It replaced the erstwhile Provisional Collection of Taxes Act 1931. The Social Justice Minister said that persons with blood disorders, including thalassemia, are not eligible for the benefits of reservation under the Right to Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. The Right to Persons with Disability Act identifies 21 disabilities like blindness and low vision. The Central Marine Fisheries Research Institute has commercialized the patent-protected technologies of two seaweed-based nutraceutical products. Seaweeds are species of marine algae and plants. They grow in water bodies such as rivers, seas, and oceans. Recently, the sea turning red was seen in Puducherry due to the red tide. Red tide is a common term used for harmful algal bloom. Harmful algal bloom occurs when colonies of algae grow out of control that color ocean waters reddish-brown. Recent National Green Tribunal cases show that thermal power plants are still not disposing of fly ash properly. Thermal power plants have been mandated to ensure 100% utilization of fly ash under notification issued in 2021. The Indira Gandhi Prize for Peace, Disarmament and Development for 2023 has been jointly awarded to Daniel Barenbaum and Ali Abu Awad. They've brought together the youth and peoples of Israel and the Arab world for a non-violent resolution on the Israel-Palestine conflict. The Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports announced the National Sports Awards 2023, which includes the Major Dhyan Chand Khel Ratan Award, the Arjuna Award, and the Dronacharya Award for Outstanding Coaches. Sahitya Academy announced its annual Sahitya Academy Awards in 24 languages. Besides 22 languages enumerated in the 8th schedule of the Constitution, Academy has recognized English and Rajasthani as well. Sahitya Academy is an autonomous body under the Ministry of Culture, founded in 1954 and registered as a society under the Societies Registration Act 1860. Before we go, it's time to put your knowledge to the test in today's segment of Test Your Learning. Thank you for joining us. We hope you have enjoyed this edition of News Today. To get the answers to today's quiz and to download the PDF of News Today, make sure you check out the links in the description below.